Would you like to move on to talk about the Smackdown?
Yes, let's talk about Smackdown.
Yes. Oh, yes, sir. I mentioned a minute ago, they had Cody on the local, WDRB is the local Fox affiliate. They had him on the morning news Friday morning to promote the live event. And, you know, again, and actually I didn't know until afterwards, but Gilbert Corsi, who used to be our OVW announcer, is the anchor guy on the 4:00 news. And he did a sit down with Cody, I guess, that aired later that night. I missed, but I saw his appearance in the morning. And again, this is another reason why that people can look at this company and these people like that they're some kind of legitimate professionals and big deals and celebrities. Because you see so many guys that do local television, if it's an indie show or if it, whatever, whoever it is. And some of them just can't help it that they're 5'8". But they show up dressed as whatever. They look like whoever. Guy could be in the parking lot of Kroger. They really don't understand. They're just promoting the show, but they use a lot of indie wrestler speak or speak of wrestling in the bubble or whatever. With Cody, he doesn't look like a badass like Stone Cold Steve Austin or a bodybuilder like when Triple H was the guy, but he looks like somebody. He looks like a star. He's taller than all the newscasters, male and female. He's wearing a fucking custom-made suit. He's got that big title belt. You can tell he's a celebrity. He's well-spoken. He has a Louisville connection. He lived here in Hillview while he was in OVW. He knows he sounds like a professional something, right? When he's speaking to people, he's pleasant. He has the demeanor. He promotes the thing, but he answers their questions, and he's a good spokesman. And then he brings kids in with the souvenir title belts and blah, blah, blah. And they do the ticket plug. That's why they want a guy like that in that position, because he's got to fucking look like somebody. You can't just go in there looking like the guy that's pushing a shopping cart at the grocery. And because they're on network TV and shit, they get spots like this. But anyway, you see what I mean about some of the guys just showing up looking like Ned.
I do.
As Teeny would say.
That's not just wrestling. That's life right now. No one understands that sometimes not everyone can pull off I'm going to dress like whatever the fuck, like I don't give a shit because I don't give a shit. Because some people do give a shit. But too many people don't dress up for anything now.
They better be introducing you as the newest billionaire that is financing a rocket to Mars if you come in dressed like a bum, or elsewise that's what most people are going to think you are, as a fucking bum. So anyway, speaking of bums, and the overriding story in this Smackdown was that Cody Rhodes is in the back at the loading dock at the KFC Yum Center, and he's waiting on AJ Styles to get there, and he's going to beat the teetotal living shit out of him. And they did some nice beauty shots. I said I was going to ask you, what was the crowd in Louisville at the Yum Center?
I don't have the final count, but as of the day of, there were 479 available tickets, 8,852 tickets distributed. But again, usually these things sell out. Yeah. I don't remember if they announced it was a sellout or not.
Well, they did, but the point is they would have been disingenuous had they done that. Because the KFC Yum Center seats 21 or 2,000 people. Somewhere around there. It's fucking massive. They were using a half setup there, but they got there close to 10,000 people. They filled up their setup. But the only other place they could have gotten this crowd in town is Freedom Hall. And honestly, nobody goes to Freedom Hall anymore because now it's 70 years old, and they got the Yum Center. It's big time television. But anyway, so out comes the bloodline at the first of the program. And Paul Heyman looks like he's going to the chair. He's stuttering. He's flummoxed. He's flustered. He's scared shitless of the new Samoans, right? And the story was that he was there at the behest of the new tribal chief Solo to make the statements, the double proclamation that he's setting the record straight until Roman's return. Solo is the head of the table. And then the fans start chanting, "We want Roman." So they're calling for this already. This is a bird's nest on the ground. They've got it made. They don't even have to climb into it. And then Paul says, tonight, Solo has declared the double proclamation, and he puts the various Tongas over. Tama Tonga is now the right-hand man, and Tonga Loa is now the infamous Tonga Loa. What do you think about them nicknames, Brian? Does that strike fear in the hearts of mortal man?
Well, he was the MFT. That was never explained. Now he's the right-hand man. Okay, that kind of works. My right-hand man. I mean, the way they announced it. I mean, everyone uses that phrase. It's not like a unique phrase in any way.
It doesn't really strike terror.
Brian Hildebrand was your right-hand man. I remember people saying, like, everyone uses that phrase about everything. And then the infamous Tonga Loa, you probably have to explain why he's infamous or show why he's infamous.
I just cut an infamous promo, according to what YouTube said.
You did.
But anyway, Paul said that and said, thank you and good night. And Solo, whoa, hold on. Solo says, no, you need to thank the Tongas for saving you from Kevin Owens last week. And they get in close on him and shoulder bump him and menace him. And he thanks them in a groveling fashion. And basically, Tama Tonga says, we did it on orders from the tribal chief. Or elsewise we'd have let him kill you. And so then Heyman said, well, and this was hilarious also. He said, I got here early to do, in my capacity as a wise man, and I did wise man things. And he's heard that Kevin Owens is looking for the bloodline. And Brad, you saw it. But folks, you're never going to guess what happened as soon as Paul said, Kevin, they've been out there for 10 minutes. But as soon as Paul said Kevin Owens is looking for the bloodline, his music played, and out he became. And Kevin Owens runs down to the ring and jumps in the ring on all three of these Samoans. Now, I can believe Road Warrior Hawk, Dr. Death Steve Williams, the Barbarian would just come in by himself and tackle these three Samoans. But isn't Owens stretching credulity, or are people just overlooking that these days because it's part of the programming?
I think people overlook it. It's the babyface running in there to do something. Now, he can't do much damage, or then it's completely silly, but...
Well, they did a good, it was a big flustery thing where he didn't just drop down and sell right away. They had to make him, he made him fight for it. But they stopped him, and then the Street Profits came in to help, and then Owens nailed everybody with a chair, and then they had hurt feelings and ill will toward each other into the commercial break. Where afterwards, Solo grabbed Paul like he was about to leave, I think, the building. And Solo stopped him and says, if you don't get a 6-man tag match for us tonight with these fucking guys, then the main event's going to be in the locker room with you versus Tama Tonga. So we got our 6-man. So they set this up where we know at the top of the program what we're going to get at the end and what in the world's going to happen. Your thoughts on this segment and this latest part where the bloodline, these three Samoans are going rogue on Paul E. big time.
Unless that's a big swerve, which it probably isn't, but it's important to throw that out there as an option just because the other option is babyface Paul Heyman. They got the fans really chanting, we want Roman loudly. We don't know how long they're going to have. We don't know when that's going to happen. SummerSlam's not too far away. But that's the only other thought I had watching this, and it may be unreasonable, but kind of like the Ole Anderson suckering in Dusty Rhodes thing. They still set on TV their main priority is getting back the title. What if they use something like this, bloodline issues, to trick someone like Cody Rhodes to do something? Again, maybe I'm trying to think of something because it's going very slow. So it gives you lots of time to think of options. But I don't know. Otherwise, I think it's good. And I like Tongaloa, or Tama Tonga. I believe him in this role. I think he's good in this role. And we'll see what happens with Jacob Fatu. That's still the big mystery.
Yeah, where is my, oh, where are you tonight? Why did you leave me here all alone? I want my Samoan.
Crazy idea I just had. So Roman's not working full time, but we don't know when he's going to be back, but he'll be back to take care of this. The Rock has kind of established himself as wanting to be the leader. We don't really know who's Solo or his bloodline. We don't know if they're reporting to The Rock or it's just Solo running rogue and using Heyman. What's to say Jacob Fatu doesn't come in and say, I'm the head of the fucking family?
And they wouldn't buy it if he was new. If he was brand new, they'd never seen him before, they wouldn't buy it.
It's very Game of Thrones-esque. All of a sudden, another family member shows up on the island to announce he's the king.
Well, then they'd have to do a DNA test and figure out that Sika fathered him first or whatever the case. But nevertheless, otherwise, blowing through SmackDown briefly, as we are wont to do these days. And speaking of blowing through things briefly, Jade and Bianca beat Indy and Candy. And again, putting Candy LaRue in with any of these girls now, she looks so meek and outlaw indie. Not like Indy Hartwell, but like indie fucking independent fucking wrestling. Jade and Bianca's like watching two of the WNBA players beating up an 8th grade point guard. And then they beat up two more teams, the two teams that they're wrestling in the three-way at the Clashing Castle. They beat them up too. And then the Lucha Heels beat Apollo Crews up in the back. And then Nick Aldis was short of a match. And coincidentally, LA Knight walked up and asked Aldis where Logan Paul was. And Logan Paul was not here on this program night. He did a pre-tape later on where he did a great promo about fucking LA Knight, but he apparently was really playing in the World Tetris Tournament. Did you hear about this? Read about this?
Did you get an invite?
I haven't played in 30 years, especially competitively. I lost my Game Boy somewhere. But he was playing, I saw a picture, he was playing like a 12-year-old kid in Tetris. That's where he went to be in the World Tetris Tournament.
There are no age groups. It's just all ages are equal.
I assume that there's only weight limits. There are weight categories that you have to apply for, but not ages are open. But appointed now, here's something else that apparently is a thing that gets national attention. In addition to the dirt racing and the bull riding on network TV, but yet wrestling can't get on. All right. So then we had, did you enjoy the match between Johnny Sameface and Grayson Waller? With, of course, Tommaso Ciampa and Austin Theory in the corners. What'd you think of that match, Brian?
What I thought was when the music hit and they came out, the only thing I noticed, a small glimmer of hope. Ciampa didn't smile while Gargano was smiling. I'm like, ooh, maybe they'll turn him heel and away from Gargano, but then I realized it'll just be them wrestling each other on the main roster. I didn't watch this match. I had other things to do.
Very good. You got two world-class talents there that have completely useless partners, and they're the ones wrestling while the world-class talents are in the corner. But, at this point, Brian, I was honestly thinking that I need to change my ways, my health, my mental and physical health. It is starting to wear on me. And I was thinking I needed some kind of artificial stimulation or sustenance or solution to ease my pain, to help with my concentration because my mind was wandering on this program. All the things that I realized that our friends do over at CB Distillery. And so what I did was I got into my supply of CB Distillery targeted formulations made from the highest quality clean ingredients with no fluff and no fillers, just pure effective CBD solutions, and I solved some things. Don't you love it when you can solve things with CBD?
I don't know what you solved, but what did you solve?
Well, I solved my pain. You know, I had pain Friday after watching this show, and I took the CBD and I solved it. And I didn't have any more pain till I did my yard work yesterday. And unfortunately, I did too much yard work. Even CBD won't solve that. I don't know if goddamn propofol will solve this. But, and also the CBD distillery products helped me with my concentration. And they support my health, and they're going to make me sleep better the next time I get the chance to go to sleep. So that's all positive things. Do you know that 81% of customers are calmer? 80% of customers say that CBD helped them with pain after physical activity, and 90% of consumers that were targeted with this poll said they slept better with CBD. And 2% said that they like to sleep out underneath their new evergreen trees. But that's just because it's such a long walk to water them. Would you like to know how you can get some fine products from CB Distillery, Brian?
Yeah, those statistics are rather benign, so I wasn't going to argue with you. Yes, let me know the details now.
Yes. Well, over 2 million customers have done what I'm asking you people to do. And that's patronize these fine people with their solid 100% money-back guarantee, because clean out your medicine cabinet, reset your health, natural quality clean products, cbdistillery.com, and use the code JCE for 20% off. JCE, 20% off at cbdistillery.com. And that way, even this wrestling will seem exciting to you. You know, so if you take enough of this stuff, you can imagine that if you just go back in the recesses of your mind, you can imagine that you're on an island in the South Pacific with a floating wrestling ring, gently,
That's not exactly how it
gently
works.
bobbing on the waves, and it'll relax you and you'll go to sleep.
If you need help falling asleep or you feel some aches and pains from everyday life, CB Distillery, the best CBD, they have it. At there.
They have it there at them they do. And here's another thing. If you need help falling asleep, last thing you want to do is ask your spouse, because that could give them the entree, the opening to start giving you a preparation every evening, and then you'd never know.
Once again, I don't know where you're going, but CB Distillery.
Well, that's the way. Once that your significant other, that wants their inheritance early, makes you comfortable by them handing you something to take before you go to bed at night. You know that lead poisoning, the heavy metals, it can come on gradually. You never really know it until suddenly, boom, there your kidneys turn into a car bumper. You're dead. So get the stuff from cbdistillery.com, because they have no real personal problem with you. Now, if you've ever pissed these people off at cbdistillery.com, maybe you don't want to take what they send you, but otherwise you're anonymous to them. So trust them before you trust your husband or wife.
You can trust them. Let's just end with that. CB Distillery, you can trust them for your CBD.
Well, you certainly can. Well, you know who you can't trust, Brian? You can't trust AJ Styles. You cannot trust him because he turned on Cody Rhodes last week when he teased the retirement. And now at 9 o'clock, imagine this. Here's the thing. Back in my day, Vince used to have us office folks there at 11 o'clock in the morning on a TV day, and the talent had to check in by 1 o'clock. But now AJ Styles and Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson got there just at the 9 o'clock hour, pulled right into the loading dock, and Aldous was out there with security because he'd got the tip off that they had finally got to the show. They must have been lost coming from the airport. And so Cody is daring AJ to fight. AJ's daring Cody to come at him, but he can't get through the security back in the loading dock. And so Cody, and this was a nice touch, turned around and ran through Gorilla and ran to the ring, and with no music playing. And the people popped, oh, there's Cody. And he calls AJ out. Get your ass to this ring right now. And the security is run out there also. And even though they played the music for the wrestler to come to the ring that the security is running out to block from coming to the ring. I'm not sure about the fucking logic there, Brian, but we'll give him that. And AJ's just mocking Cody. You know, you think I care what you want, blah, blah, blah. I want a title shot at Clash at the Castle. And that's when I realized, my God, they're big. Vince McMahon would have lined up everybody on the creative team like the St. Valentine's Day Massacre in a garage and shot them if they announced the main event world title match a week before the fucking show 30 years ago. But we live in different times. And so Cody says, well, you've got a title match, but it won't be a regular match. I'm going to make you say what you should have said last week. I quit. It ties back into the fake retirement. And Nick Aldis okays it, and Cody then beats up security, and then they hold Cody while AJ dives in and takes a cheap shot. And so the angles are good with this, and the people are fired up, and they're reacting to it, and everybody's performing it well. And they're getting away with it because of all the reasons why I said they need eyeballs. They don't have to charge anymore. I mean, they're obviously they're charging it to get into Clash at the Castle through the ass, but those people have already bought most of the tickets before they knew what they were going to fucking see. So now they're it's like they're going to make a fortune, and a ton of people are going to watch this, and it doesn't really need to be the end-all, be-all WrestleMania main event every month like Vince used to fucking crack the whip on. It's like, oh, we'll have a good match and they'll tell the story. People have already paid anyway. I've never seen any promotion in a position like this before. Have you?
No, and that's the thing. Cody and AJ's a fine little program that they're doing on TV after he lost the previous match to set up this midday in America pay-per-view that they're going to make a bunch of money from. And the matches are going to sell one ticket. And it doesn't need to. It's insane. When you really spell it out and put it out there, it's a weird thing to wrap your head around, that there aren't really too many wrestlers or matches that draw. It's the pack. It really is what Vince McMahon always wanted right now. It's the package.
Yeah.
The package has to be hot. You have to have the right people in there, and you have to be doing the right things, but WWE announces tickets on sale. People buy them before they know anything.
And then it doesn't matter that it's on at noon, because if you got the Cox subscription, you can start watching it anytime you want to. And it all counts. It's not like the pay-per-view. If you came in late, you came in late. And then DVRs came around and VCRs and etc., but it was a pain in the ass. This is, let me just see why that Clash at the Castle from today was on. It's 7:30 now. I'll just watch it for fucking nothing.
No, but I think they've done a good job since the pay-per-view. I thought that was the blow-off, but they've done enough to make me intrigued about the next match, and the last match was really good. Now here's a I Quit match with the guy he's been feuding with for a month. It'll probably be a really good match. What do you put on last, Cody's match or Drew McIntyre's match?
Boy. Depends on what's going to happen in the finish. If Drew isn't winning, he'll go on next to last. If he's winning, I think it's got to be last. But we'll see. But did you notice, speaking of timing, after the break of that where Aldis had okayed that match and been in the middle of that big schmoz with AJ and Cody, they go the break. They come back, and one of the backstage interviewer guys is at Aldis's office, and Jade and Bianca come out the door and say, "We just had a long conversation with Nick Aldis." Apparently not too long, because he was at the ring less than 5 minutes ago, right? But they forget about these things. And that's where they made the triple threat match. And then LA Knight beat Carmelo Hayes and did a promo on Logan Paul. And did you see the fight between Refrigerator Jax and Mia Yim?
I did. I was hoping you did. A lot of the listeners were intrigued by what you would think. You know, you see this happening, and I'm like, oh, God, Jim's going to talk about it. Let me pay attention. And then it turns out better than you could ever hope for.
Well, there's Tiffany Stratton. And I agree, she does have some size to her. It looks like an athlete. I'm not sure the Valley Girl, I can't do it. You know, the Valley Girl promo helps anybody at this point. But anyway, yeah, Tiffany. But she's telling the Refrigerator, "Hey, I've got your back because people are jealous of you like me, whatever." And then she walks off, and Mia Yim walks up into the Refrigerator's face. And by the way, did you see that she recently tweeted a picture of herself posing in a locker room kitchen area in front of a refrigerator with the mirror?
No.
Yes.
I did not see that. I did not.
Either her Twitter or her Instagram or whatever the kids are posting pictures of themselves these days. It's the deal where there's a mirror across from something. So you take a picture of yourself in the mirror and you see what you're standing in front of, and she's in front of a refrigerator. Obviously just a mere coincidence. But nevertheless, Mia Yim bows up in her face and throws a drink in her face. Imagine that. We were just talking about that angle earlier. And the Refrigerator is going to go to toss Mia Yim over a table, and as she does, she slips and falls in the drink that has just been thrown and busts her ass down, and then jumps up. Like, maybe if I get up fast enough, nobody saw that, and the referees are starting to come in, and she slips and falls again. Boom, it goes the other way. And it's chaos, and the referees are separated. But yeah, she took more bumps than the girl she beat up in the course of the thing. And
when she went down the second time, because I was watching it live, thinking Jim's going to talk about this. Let's see what she does, and then she slips twice. Oh.
Because the first time you could even laugh at yourself, right? And you can say, well, okay, it added to the chaos of the scene. But when you go down a second time and you're not trying to, that's when you get pissed, right? You're like, motherfucker. Oh, God damn it. So she barely escaped that confrontation that she instigated alive. But at least she had padding to break her fall. It was all stuffed into the ass of her tights. So, and
yeah,
then
we haven't seen that poor girl. She's squashed in Saudi Arabia again, have we?
Oh yeah, that's if nobody thought to scrape her out of the crack of Jax's ass, she may still be up in there serving as some kind of muffler, baby. And then Bayley goes to the ring and starts doing a promo, and in milliseconds, she was interrupted by Piper and Chelsea, and I read, what is this, fucking Glow again? There are more women than men on this show. I skipped ahead to Logan Paul did the pre-tape from somewhere with a very nice quality camera. Video was impeccable. And then we were at the main event with Owens and a Street Profits against the Solo and the Tongas. Sounds like a fucking beach music group from Norfolk in the fucking 60s. And they were standard, they went a minute to a break. They did some other stuff. And then basically Owens got disqualified for hitting somebody with a chair, and the heels beat the baby faces up, and they triple power bombed Owens through the announce desk. And it's kind of standard WWE fare for the company that has not a care, because they are aware, mon frere, that they have all the market share. And they don't need to do shit. And that's pretty much what they did in this program, was barely above the level of jack shit.
Hey, a rumor going around that Ricochet gave notice, and then word came out that things are still up in the air, but his contract's coming up. Obviously, AEW would probably want someone like him, and they'd probably blow it with someone like him. His fiancée, Samantha Irvin, works for WWE. We probably have seen probably because of the way things are, the peak of where they're going to push him to. What do you think's going to happen?
How old is he?
Hold on.
Because that bears on what I'm going to say. Here's the thing. Some people talk about Cody quit.
35. Wow.
Okay. Cody quit and went on his own and bet on himself, right? The phrase bet on yourself. Always bet on yourself. Problem is, if you're not the youngest horse in the race and there's not a lot of viable options and time for you to go somewhere and bet on yourself, then that may be a mistake. Ricochet is never going to be the WWE champion, right? I'm sorry, but just realistically, not even one of the two of them. He's not going to be. He's going to be a featured baby face. It might be hard to make him a heel, but he'd be a kind of a featured baby face on the card, not a main event level guy usually, or possibly at all. But their starting salaries over there, and he's on, I'm sure, more than starting, are quite lovely. And his wife works there, and it's the number one company, and it ain't going anywhere. And he's 35. If he gets another 3-year contract there, he's 38. Then he can do some independence, and he's made a nice income, and he's not going to look like a fucking idiot by the time he finishes that 3 years, like he would be if he was over in AEW. Or he can be over in AEW where he might even get more money out of Tony because Tony. But even huge stars that go there are nullified. And so if he went there, it's not like he can make himself a star in AEW, because nobody else has been able to except for MJF. And it's not like if you're an already established star, you will stay as important as you were on day one in AEW. So he'd be taking a little more money for a company that who knows what the fuck is going on, at the whims of this, the child with the action figures. And then when you're 38 and 3 years is up, you can go to Indies as one of the fucking flippy fly guys on that show, or you've been working for the number one company in the industry. But it's not like that he can leave and come back to the WWE and be the world champion or a main event guy, is it? Because he ain't going to be anyway.
I don't think he'll be a world champion in WWE. He owns his name, so he has that going for him. AEW would probably give him a lot of money and give him the satisfaction of working the kind of matches for the length of time he wants with the guys he wants. Him and Ospreay have a history.
Oh, boy. I can imagine what they could come up with. It'd make Cirque du Soleil look like crippled fucking senior citizens.
If you're being booked like shit, and you know you've been booked like shit for years, and you probably aren't going to have any hopes of ever being a world champion or anything, and Tony Khan's willing to give you a whole bunch of money to 1 day a week work with your friends and do what you want to do, it's easier to convince those guys than it is a main eventer.
Yeah, I guess you're right. If It's like, am I an unimportant part of a good program or a sometimes big part of a bad program? Well, good luck to him. Hopefully he bounces back from this. See what I did there?
I see what you did. We'll find out what happens. We'll let the listeners know. But that's SmackDown, ladies and gentlemen.
It certainly was. And here's my question. What in the world is going on in the 605 Arcadian Vanguard Network world this fine week?
Another exciting week on the Arcadian Vanguard Podcast Network. Go through all the shows and get information about the shows on Twitter at Superpodcast or on Facebook, facebook.com/Arcadian Vanguard. Of course, the wrestling news, wherever you find your favorite podcasts, look for the wrestling news or go directly to thewrestlingnews.com. Free daily wrestling morning newscast from the Wrestling News. Also want to make mention, Jim, I am right now, along with Jace Nacarado, even John Fell's helping us out, but it's a team effort. Going through the archives, we are putting together a Scott Cornish tribute episode.
Oh, excellent.
It'll be a 605 special. Give us some time. We want to do it right. But one of the funniest guys, one of the wittiest guys, he was explaining, you were there. Do you remember the Eddie Gilbert Memorial Brawl Banquet? When Mike Lano tried to give a plaque to Dory Funk Jr. But I had the table in front. I say I had it. That's where my table was. But I wasn't there often because I was doing videos for Dennis. At that table, I had Scott Cornish, Mark Carluzzo, and as Scott put it, a bunch of people who either couldn't or wouldn't talk. Fred the Elephant Boy. And as Scott put it, the best thing you could say about him is his brother's worse. Franz Schumann from Austria.
Oh my God.
Not really proficient in English. John Owen and I believe his dog Corey. They were there. And Kevin Lawler, who was very quiet and subdued.
He was probably just wondering, how the fuck did I get at this table?
But we're working on that now for all the fans of the Super Podcast and of Arcadian Vanguard, the various shows across the network. We're working on a Scott Cornish tribute right now, so stay tuned for more information about that. Go through the archives of Stick to Wrestling with John McAdam and Shut Up and Wrestle with Brian Solomon to hear Scott's appearances on there, and check out the new episodes as well. And of course, the 605 Super Podcast, The Mothership! Go through those archives and hear what a genius he was. 605pod.com, available wherever you find your favorite podcast, The Mothership.
The Mothership.